Oh, hey everybody, what are you doing here? Well, since you're here, I guess I'll show you how I make the world's best fried chicken in the world. My kids love this stuff. They'll eat it anytime. So what we're gonna do, this is a 2 or 3 day process actually. So you gotta get ready ahead of time. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna turn on the heat to pretty high under our pan here. We've got about 4 cups of water in it right now. We're going to be showing you this with 4 thighs. So all the seasoning is going to be based on 4 pieces of chicken. What we're going to do is we're going to do about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of salt. You can eyeball it because it's really about what it is to flavor for you. Next, we're going to throw in some bay leaves. I'm going to say about 2 should do it. Anything more really isn't going to help the flavor. I got a whole bunch of little pieces here. That'll work, right? Okay, they're in there. Next, we're going to throw in about 1/4 tablespoon of cayenne pepper. Not too much, but enough to give the actual chicken a little kick. Liquid smoke, love this stuff, gives that chicken a nice smoky flavor. We're gonna do like a half a teaspoon about. We're gonna do about a teaspoon of pepper. We're gonna do a nice tablespoon of garlic. Never have too much garlic. That's about good. And about a tablespoon of the paprika. Okay, so there it goes. We've got this heating up. We're going to let it come to a boil, and we'll get back to that since it's not quite ready for us. We don't have to stir it or anything, but the heat and the hot water will help to activate the bay leaves so that you get that extra flavor from those herbs. Other options you have would be like thyme or rosemary, herbs like that you could throw in. If you're into like some lemon chicken, you could do a little lemon juice in there. You've got a lot of different options. So we're going to throw this in the brine for overnight, 12 hours to 36 hours, depending on how your schedule works out is fine. Really anything over the 24 to 36 hours isn't going to do anything else for flavor or moisture when you cook the bird or the pieces of the bird. But it will still hold in there in that salt brine solution for a little while if you need it to. Next step is we're going to take it, we're going to throw it on a baking sheet at 350 for about an hour. That'll cook it without overcooking it, because now we're going to fry it. From there, we take it out, we throw it in a buttermilk. I do a quart of buttermilk to about 2 to 3 tablespoons of hot sauce. Mix it together, and then you're going to marinate that for at least 2 hours, overnight if you can. But you can do the brine and the marinade and everything else. You could do it all in about 4 hours to get this ready. But the longer you let it sit, the richer the flavor is going to get for you. So here's what the marinade looks like. There's the chicken in there. I saved 1 piece of chicken to show you how I bread it. There's that. So what we're going to do is let's make our breading. We're going to need about, again, I eyeball it, about 2 cups of flour. And then we're going to need some salt. Not too much because there's salt in the brine, and we're going to use it again in a minute. A little pepper. We probably did about a half a teaspoon to a whole teaspoon of each, depending on your flavor. We're also going to do a couple tablespoons of paprika. couple tablespoons of garlic here. And next step, we're going to stir that up. We'll stir that up. It's going to turn into like an orange kind of color. This is the first time that we flour. First breading layer is going to be this. You always, anything you fry that you bread, you should always bread twice. So it's got this orangish kind of color. I already had some in there because, as you can see, I already did some pieces of chicken. So let's go over here. The outside layer, what we use is cornmeal. We like to use cornmeal here because it gives it a nice sweet flavor and a crunch. We're going to do about 2 cups is what you want. I'm only doing 1 piece, so I don't want to waste anything. But you do about 2 cups of the cornmeal, and then you're going to do, it'll come out to about a tablespoon. Well, actually, it'll come out to about a teaspoon of salt. Sorry. And about the same amount of pepper. Then you're just going to stir this up so that everything's all mixed in. It's not quite ready. So let me show you how to dredge these guys, and then we'll get them started. It's always good to have 2 people, or 1 clean hand, 1 dry hand, and 1 wet hand when you do this. Otherwise you end up with what my kids and I call monster fingers. You get that extra layer of stuff stuck on your fingers. It's not very fun. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our dry hand and sprinkle some of the flour on top of our chicken leg here. Okay, the idea is we want it to get pretty well coated by this. This is our first layer. So that'll help when we put it back in our mixture of buttermilk and hot sauce. That'll help it to stick better to the leg. You can see it looks like it's sticking better already. Now we'll just dip it in here. And I just have the fork handy, so I use it. But we're going to cover this with the cornbread and the salt and pepper mixture that we have. Next step, we're going to let this guy sit here for 10 to 15 minutes until it starts a little cakey like these guys. You can see how this one, the one that I just did, is a lighter color, and these other ones are a darker, wetter looking color. You want to let it sit until it looks like that. Otherwise what happens is the liquid underneath your breading will actually turn into steam, and it'll push the breading off so it won't stick. Next, got our oil over here all heated up. We want it to be about 375. I don't have a thermometer in there. I'm kind of just estimating. So what we'll do is rinse off my monster hands. And then let's take one of these, and we're just going to gently set it into this oil like this. Let it sit. If you can hold it for about 20 or 30 seconds, that's good, because what that'll do is help cement the stuff on the bottom. If not, that's okay. Just set it down and then gently let it go. And then we're going to let it fry like that for about 10 to 15 minutes until the whole thing is really heated through. But let's go back to the brine real quick because it's done. Come over here, please. You can see how it's starting to boil. It doesn't have to come to a rolling boil, but we'll turn off the heat. And then I've got some ice cubes. Ice cubes do a couple of things. First and most importantly, they cool this down quickly. Come over here so you don't get splattered. Alright, so first thing they do is they cool it down. Secondly, what they do is they're going to dilute that mixture that we made, because we made it really rich. We put a lot of flavor into it. So it'll dilute it so that it's not too overpowering. Finally, what we're going to do with it is it's going to make it more it's going to make more brine. So let's take our chicken here, and we've got the brine already cooled down by all that ice. We're just going to take these pieces and set them in here. Again, let them sit for 1 to 2 days if you can. If not, at least a couple of hours. If you really don't have time, come here. It's hard to hear over that. If you really don't have time for it, then you can always put the seasoning on the chicken and just let it sit, and then you can bake it. So our chicken here is already starting to turn nice and golden brown. I'm going to turn down the heat actually. I think we might have had it just a tad high. But you can see that it's starting to turn nice and golden brown here. And that's kind of what we want. Like I said, we want to leave it sit there long enough for it to heat all the way through. And then that'll be the world's best fried chicken in the world.